This is Family Electric Ghost. We're live on the air for the first time with Joe Elefante, and I want to welcome you to the Family Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing real well. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
We are a live podcaster, and we love to talk to people in this form. We've been on the air since 2016. We're getting close to 1,400 episodes, and what we like to do is talk to creative people live and have them tell their story. Now, Joe, you've been a New Jersey-based writer, educator, musician. You're the author of The Endless Knot, which I'll actually put up for a second so people can see the name of the book.
Oh, thank you.
So I just had it. There it is. Yeah, An Endless Knot: How Democracies Form the Citizens They Need. So we're going to talk about that. And your work explores democracy, tension, grief, faith, education, jazz, and the arts. And we're just going to have you tell your story. We'll get into your book, talk about you being a musician, because we like that. So one of the first things we ever ask anybody is what motivates you?
Okay, so I'll answer that question two ways. What motivates me as an author? First, quite frankly, I just look around at what's going on in the world and I just see a lack of compassion, a lack of people caring about other people, a lack of people taking a look at the big picture and how, a rising tide lifts all boats. And that concerns me, being not only just being a citizen of the world, but also just being a dad and bringing a young lady up in this world. And I just want to, I want to make sure that we're creating systems and institutions that are healthy and can sustain themselves and that benefit as many people as possible. Related, what motivates me as a musician, first of all, I grew up in a musical family. So my father was and is a professional musician at 79 years old. He's still performing all the time. He's a saxophonist, clarinetist, vocalist. My uncle is also a professional keyboard player. And actually, my father and my sisters own a music company here in New Jersey called Elefante Music. They have 2 locations. They do a lot of school music dealing, repairs, sales, music lessons.
The band instruments for everybody.
All that stuff, and private lessons, group classes, all that stuff.
Yeah, I did all that. So I remember going to stores like that.
Oh, you did that? Were you like a rep for one of the companies or something?
No. I was a kid playing in band. Like I was in Springfield, Mass, and I would play the classical jazz band and classical high marching band and the concert band. So I was always getting new parts for my clarinet because I was wearing it out.
that shows that you were using it. That's good.
Yeah, just wearing out the pads and have to get the keys fixed. And
your folks must have been happy laying out that money because at least you were using it. You were practicing.
Well, I was using it to death. I was messing it up.
Yeah. If you hear my dog growling a little bit, I just want to apologize in advance. So I grew up in a musical family, just both on the performing side of it and on the business side of it. And my family's still involved in both ends of that. So it was kind of inevitable that I was going to be into music. But, then for my 20s and most of my 30s, pretty much a full-time professional musician, mostly in jazz and musical theater, but kind of a little bit of everything. You know what it's like to be a full-time gigging musician. And then in 2013, I started teaching music full-time in the public schools. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing that ever since. In addition to my performing, I haven't really slowed down performing all that much in that time. So sometimes it's a little crazy, but that business sort of ebbs and flows. So in terms of motivation, it was sort of natural that I was going to be in music just because of the nature of my family. But also, but also I find in relation to the book, I just find that music, it connects everybody. And I don't even mean everybody that's like all Americans now. I mean everybody, everywhere, ever.
It's like a universal. Yeah.
And they say it's a universal language, but I say it's even more than that. I think I look at the arts in general, but my field is music. And I think about every time that we write music, every time we perform music, every time we play music, we're tapping into something eternal that's been going on for generations and centuries and centuries. And we're a part of that. We're influenced by everything that came before us. And ideally, I like to think that we're influencing everything that came after us. So I think about what makes us most human. And I think that the performing arts, well, actually all the arts and music in particular is one of those things. And that's what motivates me.
What I love about music is like I've been writing music since I'm 58, since I was like, and picked up like the first like recorder and then the flute and the clarinet. And I'm a child of the 70s, and so I was into music. My pop was in the Funkadelic and Nat King Cole, and my older brother was 7 years older. He's into Zeppelin and Hendrix, and my mom was listening to Carpenters. So I was hearing like everything. So I ended up liking everything. And I mean like everything from Johnny Cash to like punk rock and then jazz and everything else.
Everything you just mentioned is great. I love all that stuff too.
And it's just like, I think about music is like, to me, it's like telling a story. Like when you read like Moby Dick, or you read any great book from like Orwell, Animal Farm, any great book, that musicians can do that in a kind of, they tell a story within a smaller time frame. And maybe get Yes will do 20-minute song, but most of the time it's like within less than 10 minutes, like closer to 2 to 4 or 5. And you can tell, if you can connect in that amount of time and tell that story through sound and frequency and all these things, I think you really tap into something that the writer in a book brings you into their into their world, but you bring people into the sonic world that can trigger memories like a film or like a book, but it's like in your face in real time. And I think that is a little different.
Well, one thing that's especially cool about that is that there are no words. Well, there are lyrics, but there are no there's no narrative telling you in most music.
Yeah.
This is what's happening here. This is what you should feel. This is what's happening in the story. It's up to the individual, the listener, to interpret that however he or she, however it speaks to them personally. So it's there's a narrative element there. There's a story, but it's more like what is the story for the listener? And that's one of the things that I love about music. It's more abstract, less concrete than literature. I love literature too, don't get me wrong, but it's a different thing.
But I think what's great about like all the arts, and especially music is very cathartic. I think for the writer, for the songwriter, and for the player, that you can connect to really deep emotions, and your instrument or your voice, which is an instrument, can actually relay emotions, like a very wide spectrum of emotions. And you don't have to say it. You could scat it and somebody can figure out what you're saying. You could just be in a choir singing like just passages or like notes. There's like, there's ohs and ahs and vocalizations, but they can get the drift of what you're saying. If it's very like, kind of like, I don't know, affirmative, life affirming, or like punk rock, it's like guttural grunge. It's like getting to you, or jazz. It's like, it's discordant and then it's not discordant. Then it's going here, it's going there. Timing changes, all these things. It feels like life because it is life. That's what I like about music, because I think it just represents life in the moment.
I agree. And you bring up jazz, and I think about, well, I'll talk about a couple of things you brought up. You brought up jazz, and the thing that's, in my opinion, the most, and this is not revolutionary. People have been talking about this for 100 years, but one of the things that's most revolutionary about jazz is that it is people bringing in real time, improvised in that moment, their own individual expression in service of a greater whole. And that is what makes jazz, I think, unique in and of itself, and also uniquely American, because, in America, we've centered the individual and freedom so much, which is one of the best things about this country. And we've centered the individual. We've made the individual like the focus of democracy. And I think that that's what makes things like, even look at baseball. It's a team sport, but it's like one person pitching at one, it's a bunch of one-on-one, it's a series of one-on-one interactions. So I think that jazz is uniquely American like that. And then you also brought up choral music.
Yeah.
And I'm a choir teacher. That's like my day job. I'm a school choir teacher. And what's so cool about that is everyone's singing together in real time. And there's like a physiological thing that happens when people do that, right? When everyone is sort of resonating at the same frequency at the same time.
It's like when you're a solo artist, you have to overdub. to get to that. I was watching like a documentary on like Michael McDonald working with Steely Dan
Yep.
on Peg, and how he did all these overdubs to get that Peg line.
Oh, I didn't know he was all
Yeah, that's all him.
background singers. Okay,
It's
I could
all,
tell. Obviously, the
all
top one I knew was him,
it's
but
all him
yeah.
doing that Peg, and they
That's
had
cool.
him doing every note manually without computers, like back in the day, like on tape, overdubbing it, and he had to get the next frequency, the next pitch exactly right without like a choir. It was him. And I always find that really amazing when you get like solo guys that that try to build that because they were trying to build it artificially, but it still gets to it because you're manually doing it.
He was busy back then too. He did a lot of that stuff. Did you ever see that Saturday Night Live sketch with Rick Moranis
Yeah,
being Michael McDonald, just going from one studio session to the next?
it's when they play with everybody. He's playing everybody. Yeah, like, this place is old. But like what I think is awesome about like jazz is like because like when you think about Miles, he would call these guys up, call Coltrane up, and call the guys from Weather Report, early guy. He would call these guys up, and he'd say, show up on Monday. And what are we playing? Or just show up, and they show.
You'll get it on Monday.
You'll get it. It's like because he's like it's kind of a sketch, some of the patterns, but a lot of it, like what I'd like to play a lot of like basically stream of consciousness type of music when I play with guys, and I give them a kind of roadmap. But you let them be what they are. If the bass player, like I'm gonna let him do what he hears when I do my chords. It's like what's gonna go with that, and I could give you an idea what I think should go with it, but I'd rather hear what you think should go with it. So I kind of when you have that kind of direction where you trust the bass player, you trust the drummer, you trust the sax player, you trust the alto, you trust everybody. You're not overbearing.
And I think there's an element of that in all music, but I think, like you say, in jazz or in improvised music, like what you do, that's really it's like individual immediacy, like on steroids.
Yeah, because it's something. I mean, I've been there when you write it out and you read it from the page, and there's some and studio musicians know what that is. It's like somebody gives you the charts, they tell you what it is, and it's okay. You only have so much room to change it. You
Right.
try to put your style on it, but you're kind of constrained. It's just more fun to me when you're not constrained. It's like what Zappa said. He's like, I could play the same solo every night, but I'm not because I don't want to.
Right. Well, when
You didn't want
when you're Zappa, that's not what people are paying for,
They're
right?
not paying for you to do it like the
Yeah.
Eagles.
Exactly.
They're trying to do it, hit the long run every night. Like, I'm not trying to do that.
Right. I mean, I love the Eagles too. Don't get me
I
wrong.
like them. I mean,
Yeah.
but I understand like when they telling Joe Walsh to do the same solo every night. Like, why would you do that? Why would you do it? Because that guy can do amazing work, and why would you constrain him? I mean, okay, fine, do what you want.
Right.
But I think it's just interesting what you can do. Because you talk about the democracy, needs better formed citizens and better systems. And maybe because the thing about music is like when you're a musician, you have to listen as much as you play. And maybe
More.
today people don't, maybe more, but people don't. I don't think people really listen. I think people talk at each other.
I see it in music too, unfortunately, with a lot of less experienced musicians. They haven't gotten comfortable enough in their own skin to just like relax, let it happen, listen, like you say, and then respond based on what they're hearing. But the more you do it over time, you realize that that's where the real art of it is, right? The real art of music is listening to the whole package, listening to your place in that, and figuring out what your individual contribution, what your best individual contribution is going to be. I think it's that way, especially in jazz, but really in anything.
Yeah.
It's all about listening. And like you say, in our society, unfortunately, it's kind of a lost art. People don't listen. Especially, you look at social media, you look at the 24-hour cable news cycle, you look at what our leaders are doing, our business leaders, our political leaders, even some of our religious leaders. You look at what people are doing. There's a whole lot of talking, and there's not a whole lot of listening.
Yeah, 'cause I think it's cause the problem is the human mind, the brain filters things out into the pattern that you feel safe with. So as soon as you hear something, your mind takes it and puts it into this, like, okay, it's going to this box, it's going into this corner, it's going to this channel, it's going into this lane. So then no matter what you say, after your brain picks that, you're not really listening at all. You're just totally made a decision that you filtered it. It's like, hey, this person meant X, and now I gotta put my back up and I gotta win. I gotta win the day instead of like asking, what did you really say? What did you really mean? Most people don't do that.
It's interesting that you bring that up because one of the big themes running through my book is the whole concept of winning. And what I say, both in the book and in my life, is that I despise the whole concept of winning outside of sports. And now look, I brought up baseball before. I'm a huge sports fan. I love sports. But there's a place for sports, and winning in sports, it's not only just important, winning is everything, right? Like Vince Lombardi says. But then outside of that, I mean, why are we so focused on winning? I think it's misguided. And like you say, people are listening, but they're not listening to understand. They're listening to respond. They're listening to either agree or disagree. They're not necessarily listening to really understand what the person on the other side of their dialogue is trying to say to them. And they're certainly not trying to understand the experiences or perspectives that are behind what that person is saying. And
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, please.
No, because I went to school. I went to Bowdoin, which is a really good like northeastern small college.
Oh yeah.
I teach like the Socratic method.
Mm-hmm.
Taught like most of my exams, I was sociology, political science. They're all blue book, not SAT, right? Or they're all oral exam. And so the thing about it was like you had to synthesize what the professor was teaching and then put it back in your own words, not on multiple choice, and be able to actually say that you understood that concept. And I think a lot of people today, they don't have that capability. They just look for like the multiple choice answer. There's no depth. There's no real critical thinking. There's no real understanding. And even when we had debates in political science, we had to come with our facts and we had to listen to the other side. And we had to debate and we get measured by whether or not we made a good argument. Like, not that we're going, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. You're going to soundbite this, soundbite that. You're like, that's not how you win a debate.
100%. And you bring up a thing that, I mean, you know, I'm a education policy scholar as well. So you're touching on another one of my passions here, but it's true. And you talk about your experience at a liberal arts college. And I look at the decline of liberal arts colleges and the humanities in general in higher education. And I see that as what I think you're implying in what you're saying as well. I see that as symptomatic of a bigger problem. What we do is we look at education as, and I write about this in my book as well, but we look at education as a way for the individual to gain a network and credentials to be able to advance, to personally advance in the economy and in society. But it didn't always used to be that way. Education it's one of the points. I'm not going to say it's not any of the point. It's one of the points, but it's only one of multiple points. So there's, there's this great education scholar. I'm an avid reader of his and follower of his. His name is David Labrie. And he said that there's historically been three aims of education, right? There's been the individual, they call it social mobility. For the individual to rise in, social and socioeconomic status. Then there's also social efficiency, which is training workers for the workforce to be able to participate in the economy. And then there's democratic participation. And that one we've almost completely neglected as a
But the civics
society.
is like nobody even knows what civics is.
Oh, or nor have we trained any of the necessary skills and capacities to be able to participate in democracy, like let alone the official civics ones, even things we were talking about before, like listening,
Yeah.
generative listening, empathy,
Yeah.
cooperation, collaboration,
Yeah, it's too woke.
compassion.
Yeah, there's everything's too woke. Yeah, everybody's like you're too sympathetic, too empathetic. And the thing is like the pursuit of knowledge, you go from the enlightenment, where you get people where they have science and the arts at the same time, right? It's not all STEM. And I'm in science. I'm a software designer,
Right.
20 years, but a lot of it is art. It's not all STEM. There's a lot of stuff. Think about Apple. There's many designers and artists working at Apple versus Microsoft. Apple decided like, well, we're going to do it like the Enlightenment. We're going to have more artists and techies and artists together. Some people put it too much to one side. They say it's all STEM. It's all ones and zeros. It's all like just total logic without the art piece. I think we're missing the art piece. People don't understand. Like art to me is, like I was watching like a documentary on Orson Welles. He was talking about Citizen Kane. Somebody's asking, "How did you do that?" So I didn't know what I couldn't do. Right? He's like, I didn't know that the camera couldn't do this, so I got a cameraman. And we said we're going to do whatever we feel we should do.
I've read that as well. Yeah.
That to me is the epitome of being a pure artist. Is like you're in the canon. Maybe you would learn from the canon, but then you disregard the canon, and you say whatever I can do, I should try. But I should try it because why not? And probably it's like if I keep on doing what's in the canon, it's like it's already there. Shakespeare's already there. Why would I do that? I'm going to do.
And you're not going to do it better than Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned that because I feel like a lot of creators, musical creators, do their best work when they're younger, because they like kind of what Orson Welles was saying. They haven't learned the rules yet. They haven't learned what it is they can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And as you get older, there are obviously exceptions to this, but a lot of musicians, as they get older, yeah, maybe like the craft improves a little bit, but they lose that
10,000 or 100,000 hours. But the thing is, like when you're very young, you get like a Hendrix, right? Hendrixian, like his choices of his fingering, the way he did his fingering, the way he choices he made about feedback, is because he's a young guy. He's kind of really into Cherokee mysticism, psychedelic mysticism, and blues all at the same time. And then restringing the guitar because he's left-handed. Like, yeah, that created like all these dynamics that a normal guy wouldn't do. Like a normal guitar player is not going to approach it that way. It's like when Pete Townsend approached the synthesizer. Because he's a guitar player, he approaches the synthesizer in a totally different way, comes up with the Barbara O'Reilly, all these weird like things he was doing with the envelope followers and stuff. But that's very technical. But he was doing stuff that a keyboard player, piano player is not going to do that. Because they're going to follow what they were trained, like Berkeley or whatever, or the conservatory. He's going and approaching it in a totally different way because it's a synthesizer. Approaching it like a piano, it's probably not the best way to do it. Using the key structure of a piano, maybe it's better to use alternative input method. Like I use multiple alternative inputs. I'll have LFOs driving my thing, other oscillators driving it, like algorithms driving it. Random number generators driving it, because that's going to give me something that's not normal. And then I'll use it like a sound panning.
Well, otherwise it's just like, it sounds like a piano player playing a synthesizer.
Yeah. If you want to do stuff that's very weird or atmospheric or coming from out of the left field, right field, whatever, you come from a different point of view. You come from like, oh, it's like, I'm going to go out and do field recordings. And then do sampling and do it then kind of play with the tape and invert, revert, use attenuverters, all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of methods that you can get into, but you're trying to get color. Sound design is all about how you color the sound, and then you're trying to find colors that other people maybe didn't use before, like a painter, mixing your sounds like colors.
When you're doing that, do you literally see color? Or are you talking about color more metaphorically?
I kind of see colors in a way. I kind of, it's like a synesthesia type of thing. I kind of get the idea. oh, I got something that's kind of blue, something kind of pink, some brown or white noise, or I get into like the different types of noise, and then you try to play with like different tunings. Like like when you're a synthesis, you play with a lot of different tuning, you detune a lot of things, because a lot of what creates the magic is having detuned notes on, and then different like oscillator, uh, you know, basically tuning your oscillators to different keys or having them a little out of phase. And then you play with like how they bounce off each other. You have multiple oscillators, and you play with like the range on them. There's a lot of interesting stuff that you can do. Whether you're coming from like the Bob Moog point of view or more East Coast type of programming, where you're West Coast, East Coast, where you're doing the left to right kind of standard, Moog type of design, or you're going off of a more like West Coast kind of design. It's a totally different thing, where the way you approach it. But I get the kind of divergent, but
No, it's great. I love hearing musicians talk about what really excites them.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting because kids today with the samplers and the plugins, I like real instruments. I like having Moogs. I like when I can get my hand on a mini Moog in a session or something, or if I get my hand on an Oberheim or a Jupiter. There's a reason. So some of these, like, these are electronic instruments, but they sound like they're acoustic. Like certain analog synths from the 70s and the 80s have tones that no other instruments have. And they have ways of creating sounds that are just as unique as any great piano or any great guitar.
And even the feel of the controller is different than when you're doing it using plugins. It creates a different performance when you use the actual instrument.
Yeah, because you're actually with the tactile stuff on a mini Moog, in real time, you can adjust that sound.
Correct.
If you're on some of the older Moogs that are like CV oriented, controlled voltage, and how you patch them, I spend a lot of time patching modulars. And when you patch a modular, it's like point in time. It's a point in time thing. It's like a painting, and you take a picture of it if you want to bring it back. But it's like, that is what I'm using for today or tomorrow, and then I pull all the wires out, and it's not the same next day. It's a different thing.
100%. It's jazz.
Yeah.
It's improvisation.
Yeah.
Because improvisation is not just what notes you pick. It's not just when you play the notes. It's not just how you play the notes. It's making all these like little micro decisions, when to play, when not to play, patching modulars, like whatever you're going to do, it's all jazz. It's all responding to what's happening in the moment. And like you said before, listening, responding to what's happening in the moment, responding to the feedback that you're getting from the other musicians that you're performing with, responding from the feedback that you're getting from the people that are listening live. If you're performing live, it's an organic thing. And when it becomes, I have no problem with technology either. I love sports. I love technology. I'm not putting either of those things down. But when music gets too technological, I think sometimes it loses its.
When I see these kids in Suno or whatever,
don't even get me started on that
stuff, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I understand. Like, you could argue that the sampler started it, like when you get like an MPC, but I would argue that those guys using the samplers, when they were really good, and they used them with the 808s and they used them with 909s, they actually did something different, right? They actually. If you look at guys like a De La Soul, the Bomb Squad, they did layering that's very diverse, very, very, very intentional,
and very creative,
super creative. It's not as like kind of blind stuff that people are doing now, where they're doing prompt generated stuff.
Well, that's the thing. They're allowing the artificial intelligence to create the music based on just like you say, like a limited language prompt. I mean, like what are we doing here? That's not, I don't know. I haven't thought about it deeply enough to say whether or not I believe that it's music or not. I'm not prepared to come on here and say that it's
kind of
not.
like a DJ making choices, but I think a DJ is more deliberate.
Oh, DJ's way more deliberate.
Yeah, deliberate. I mean, they try to argue like, oh, I talked to some tech bro saying that somehow it was easy democratizing music. I'm like, well, there's a reason why somebody, if you're an athlete, you're going to democratize being a NBA, NFL athlete, you have to get a certain level of skill.
Well, for that matter, should we democratize being a tech bro?
Yeah.
I mean, how does this person feel about farming out all of the coding to artificial intelligence? I mean, we're human beings. Look, from a purely musical aesthetic standpoint, just there's a rawness, there's a realness, there's a fire to human generated music that artificial intelligence cannot recreate.
Not gonna do it.
But also, as a human being existing in reality, the idea that a computer is going to create music completely from scratch without any human involvement, there's something really misanthropic about that to me.
But it's totally a lie, because everything it's doing is based on what humans had already done. So basically, it's a big clone copyright stealing machine.
Well, it's the same thing with the large language models for writing text. I mean, it's the Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT. They're not thinking. They're not creating anything. They're aggregating from.
No, it is. It's what people don't understand. These things are not data. They're not like Star Trek Next Generation data. There's no sentience, right? These are predictive analytical algorithms.
Predictive algorithms. That's it. They're
all they do. And it seems like it's smart, because it's taking the fact that it has all this data to kind of predict. And this is why it can give you hallucinations and these really bad results.
Mm-hmm.
And they can seem very convincing, because when it's not like the old Google search, it gives you something like, whoa, that seems okay. But you got to kind of trust and verify. You got to trust me. You got to verify it, because when you go check it, because I'm a techie, right? And we have it look at code, and we made decisions like our coders still have to code, and they can use this stuff to look at their code and fix a problem, like a syntax problem. But you can't have it right in source code, because if you have it right, the source code, it makes a lot of mistakes, and mistakes that can be super bad for the enterprise. Because it can do stuff where it will just go off and decide to delete things. It would just decide to go and ran. The problem, it's not like old databases, like an old database, like Oracle database. It's stable. It's whatever you did. And if it's got errors, it's got errors. Right. This thing is shifting all the time. It's shifting based on whatever it got. So when you ask it something tomorrow, or you ask it something 10 minutes from now, it gives you a different answer. That's not very stable. And that is inherently what the problem is, because it's a predictive model and it's shifting its guts. Its foundation keeps on shifting. And so it's not giving you consistent results. And if you're going to run an enterprise, you need consistent results that are predictable.
Well, because
it gives you some level of unpredictability in a predictive system.
And again, I'm not a Luddite. I'm not anti-tech. I think that AI is revolutionary, and I use it for certain tasks. Like you say, I always check my work, but I do use it for certain tasks. But the idea that, like you say, that it's smart, like that it knows, quote unquote, knows anything. It doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
It aggregates data that it is, mined from what humans have already created, and it makes predictive.
You really don't want scientists using this to do scientific method validation.
No,
because it's not up to snuff, because it doesn't have what the PhD is a PhD, because he passed the test, right? And he knows what to look for.
And he knows that if there's a mistake, but if there's something wonky with the data or with the results, he knows or she knows how to double check it and
go find it.
And go find it, and what's valid, and what, when to question validity and all that. All that good. When it's kind of like a gut thing, right? Like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah, there's gut intuition, human like morality, human sensibility, and human creativity is kind of based on something that's not like an algorithm, right? And that's the secret sauce that every musician, every artist has. Is even if I'm a blues guy playing a pentatonic scale, like if I'm Led Belly or Robert Johnson, I approach that thing differently, right?
Well,
I approach the same thing differently.
Robert Johnson didn't really play many different notes than any other blues artist would play. It's not like so much, listen to the language he's using. The language wasn't much different than what other people have done. But when you hear Robert Johnson play, you know immediately that it's him. There's something human there.
It's a human style. I mean, it's a difference between Hendrix doing Voodoo Child and Stevie Ray Vaughan doing it.
Exactly right.
Hendrix wrote it. It's a cosmic psychedelic thing. The originator wrote it. When Stevie does it, it's a Texas bluesman's interpretation. It's Stevie's Texas blues interpretation. You might think on its face it's the same song. It's not. Both of them stand in their own place, right? They're both versions are great, but like they're not the same. And you get people like, "Oh, it's the same." It's like, well, you don't really know music.
No, it's not the same at all.
You don't know music at all.
No, well, that's like listening to, music in the elevator and saying, "Oh, that's that's just Girl from Ipanema." It's like listening to Antonio Carlos Jobim play Girl from Ipanema. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to Antonio Carlos? Like really listen, not just like background music, but like really listen to those Brazilian cats play that bossa nova music in the 60s. It is bad, man. I mean, it's just like.
Well, the thing I get about young fans today, music fans, I kind of critical of, because I'm a child of the 70s. I'm kind of album oriented, vinyl oriented.
Yeah.
Actually, listen to a complete thought. It's like the attention problem, the playlist problem.
Yeah.
When you get a playlist, of all these artists, you get like just their singles. And a single to me does not represent an artist, right? It represents what A&R wanted you to get out of that artist. But what's in the deeper track, the B-side, the full album, is the full statement of that artist. If you only hear the single, you don't know who they are.
Well, now though, a lot of artists are releasing singles as standalone singles. That used to be a relatively rare occurrence. Mm-hmm. Back when people used to record albums and release albums, people were making albums to be made as, like you say, like complete thoughts, complete opus. An album would be like a complete opus. And, like you remember, I was a child of the 80s, but I remember it too. You take the vinyl. There was something about putting the vinyl, caring for the physical vinyl, taking it out of the sleeve, gently, gingerly placing it on the turntable, gently, gingerly placing the needle on the vinyl, trying to get it goes right to the beginning of the record, having the sleeve in your hand while you listen to the music.
You're looking at the art.
You're looking at the art. You're looking at the lyrics. You're looking at the personnel. Not a single person of my daughter's generation, no offense, but they don't know any of the personnel on anything.
These records. Yeah.
They don't know who the bands are, who the producers are. They don't know anything. You and I knew all that stuff.
Yeah, we were like looking at like who produced it, who's the engineer, right? Like we're a musician, like we're going.
Oh man, like what did Lee Sklar play on everything? I mean, like we just
wrote it. Did like Dylan write it or did Robbie write it?
Exactly right. Did Dylan write it or did Robbie write it? Or how many things did like Prince or Stevie Wonder write for other people? You had no idea until like, wait.
Yeah.
Prince wrote Nothing Compares to You. I thought that was Sinead O'Connor.
I do everything. I'm a big purple head. But the whole idea is like I see these people like today on these YouTube channels and they're going back and listening to old records and they're starting to get into it. And that's kind of cool. But the fact that they don't even know the personnel on the bands.
Yep.
They have no idea about like who the people they're talking about are.
Yep.
And they're making like statements about music, but they're not real like connoisseurs. So it's like, okay, like you guys are kind of coming out, and I'm glad that you're getting interested and you're listening to the whole album, but you don't actually know. Like if you're listening to Tommy, you don't know what Pete's about. Right? You don't know who Entwistle is, right? You don't understand why the bass line is the way it is. You don't know why that when you think about Moon, it's like, how come he's rolling like every second? Like, how come he's not keeping time? He's rolling all the time. It's like, you don't know all that because he didn't get into it. But like our generation, we got into it.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to know everything about Keith Moon, everything about Keith Richards, everything about all those guys. That's
now we're getting back into those back in my day conversations, right?
Yeah. But it's like even today, do you even know what these new bands are? Do you know what they're doing? Do you know who actually wrote that song?
A lot of times We don't. And, I don't want to say that like I'm so much better than them because I do it too. I listen to a lot of music on Spotify. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't, but something's missing. We've lost something. We've lost, we're not as connected. Oh, don't get me started on connection, but we're not as connected to our music.
No, I think we're using it as like I see my daughter, she's 25 and she's listening to a song on the TV while she's watching TikTok while she's playing a PS5.
We're
And I
not
see
connected.
that, so like there you're seeing she got so many things going on. How much is she paying attention to any of it? And I'm like, it's interesting you can do that, but my thing is like, why don't you just focus on one of them to actually get the full picture of what one of them is instead of having all of them? And I think that's the problem today is that there's too much noise and multi-focus, and everybody says, "Oh, it's cool. I have this multi-focus," but like that multi-focus, you're losing focus of everything.
Based on my reading, there is no such thing as multitasking. All there is switching back and forth between tasks really fast. And some people are better at that, but it is impossible, based on what I've read, to actually what we call multitask, which is doing multiple things at the same time. It's not neurologically possible.
Yeah, but then there's all this noise.
It's
If
just
there's all
noise.
this noise, then like, what are you really getting out of it? Like people say now, writers. I was talking to a film director, they can't write intricate plots because people don't have the attention span. Like if you watch a movie from the 70s or the 80s, you get like kids today, they'll say this thing's too slow. They can't get into a plot that's intricate that's not gonna hit you over the face, right? If something takes a while for it to develop, yeah, it's all it's boring. It's too slow. They can't read books of more than 60,000 words. You're reading books that were 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 words. You can barely read 50,000. That's a problem.
And that brings us back to democratic capacities, right? Because a lot of what we do as citizens in a democracy is we have to work towards things that don't always produce an immediate result. And like that's why things like being connected to our music or being able to read long books or being able to watch long movies, these are things that you think, oh, well, what's the big deal? I don't listen to vinyls anymore. I don't have the sleeve in my hand and I don't know who's playing on the record. Yeah, I guess in the grand scheme of life, it's not that big of a deal, but it's a symptomatic of a bigger problem. It's symptomatic of this problem of like, I want what I want now, and I expect immediate results from my actions.
Instant gratification,
Instant gratification. But like it says in the Bhagavad Gita, you are entitled to your actions. You are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. You act in the world and you put your karma into the world, and that's great, and all that stuff matters, and I believe in all that stuff. But you ultimately have no result over what happens.
Yeah, it's kind of law of attraction. I'm a Buddhist. I'm a Nishonen.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But the idea is, it's like what you put in is what you get out. And just the idea is like you have to have affirmations. You have to believe in what you're doing. You got to put the work in. If you don't put the work in, right, and then like you can't expect to get a result if you put no effort, right? And if you can't expect to have the best result from putting in like 5 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds.
And this is the problem we get with LLMs. The problem we get with LLMs is that we get instant output.
Yeah.
We get instant text. We get Suno. We get instant music. We get instant art, AI art. We get things instantaneously. And we think we've come to expect as a society. And again, I use these tools. I'm no better. I'm not saying that like I'm better than anybody else. It's a society-wide issue.
Things have to percolate. I mean, sometimes you have to percolate. Things have to like get they have to take time. Like sometimes there's a piece of music and this famous piece of people like they came out right off the bat. First take, they got it right out the bat. But a lot of times that's not the case. Right. A lot of times you got to work through it. You got to put the effort in. You put your 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 hours to get good on the bass.
Well, that's the part right there, what you just said. Yes. Maybe Paul McCartney wrote Yesterday in a Dream. Fine. But he put in the 10,000 hours of listening, writing, messing with stuff at the piano, messing with stuff at the guitar, working with John, working with the Beatles, being in the studio. And then that's how the
can happen
epiphany
quick.
of yesterday happens. It's not like, I mean, like I'm a believer. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as divine providence,
Yeah,
but
the download from the universe.
right. It's not like Paul McCartney downloaded.
Oh, there's a lot of work. I mean, he put that work in.
He put in the 10,000, 20,000. You even said it before in the case of Paul McCartney, maybe 100,000 hours. He put in the time.
all
And
these
that's how
hours, that's what they
yesterday
do.
gets created, quote unquote, instantaneously.
The amount of hours these really great musicians put in before they even got anywhere. You know, you look at Pink Floyd when Sid Barrett was there, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then what they get to in the 70s. That wasn't overnight. That was a whole like almost a decade worth of work, before they get to this period 72, 73. They're doing like, wow, how'd they get there? It's not like that didn't happen overnight. And Hendrix, like, he was in the Chitlin circuit, playing with Little Richard, playing with the Isley Brothers. He was doing the work, right?
Yeah,
and then but the Animals grabbed him, and got him to London. And then Carney and Jagger, everybody saw him, clapped, everybody saw. That wasn't just some overnight thing. He was putting the work in.
That's what all those bands were doing. The Beatles were touring Germany with playing rhythm and blues, doing cover bands all night.
Yeah, Richard said he gave him dinner.
Yep.
He gave some steak because they were too thin.
Yeah, and they did that for years, multiple gigs a night, playing R&B covers, throwing in an original here and there, but like mostly just like
you gotta put your
work
work
in it, right?
Yeah, like people don't realize, like, people go on the net and they want to get 10,000 likes. You're not gonna get 10,000 likes right off the bat, and you can do, I'm gonna pay for bots to help me out. It's like, no, like, you gotta do the work. If you pay for the bots and you do all this garbage with your SEO, like, if you actually are honest and actually put the time in, and you actually are willing to be vulnerable, and you put it out there with like the law of attraction, the right people will find you.
The problem
you're consistent and you're into it.
The problem is that there are these anomalies that happen from time to time where someone does immediately get 100,000 likes, and these things can happen, but those are the exceptions that prove the rule.
Yeah.
More 99 times out of 100, more than that, 99,999 times out of 100,000, it's the 10,000 hours, the 100,000 hours.
How are you equipped if that happens if you didn't do the work?
100%. What is luck? Luck is opportunity meets preparation, right?
Yeah.
You got to do the preparation. You got to get lucky to get the opportunity, but if with the opportunity comes and the preparation isn't there, no luck.
Yeah, but the idea, what's the endless knot for you? What does that mean?
So an endless knot, it's this you talk about Buddhism. I'm a practicing Buddhist myself. It's a Buddhist symbol that's basically every strand of the knot is connected to the rest of the strand. It doesn't end. Mm-hmm. It's like an infinite knot, endless knot. Mm-hmm. And that's how I envision, and how many Buddhist thinkers envision, the idea of interdependence.
Yeah.
So when I look at the endless knot, what I see is, and what a lot of Buddhist thinkers see, is the idea that no action that we partake, no word that we say, no thought that we have just exists in and of itself. It goes out into the world, and it spreads out into the world in endless ways that we can't even comprehend and have no control over. And it's like I said before about the Gita and karma. It's like you have your intentions, you have your intention in every moment, but ultimately you don't know what's going to happen when you do actions in the world. You don't know what the result of those is going to be, because this web of interdependence is too complex and too multifaceted. You can't possibly know. So to me, participating in democracy means that you have to concede a little bit of this idea that I have to have control. I have to have say over what the results of all my actions are going to be. And you got to trust the fact that if you're living your best intention in every moment, that the fruits are ultimately going to be good, even if you don't live to see them.
Yeah, it's like the energy. Like, if you put out positivity, it's a law of attraction. You're going to bring positivity. You put out negativity, highly likely you're going to bring about negativity. You might have some false starts where you're getting positive reactions, where you think you're getting positive things, but you don't consider. It's like when, you create, these scientists, chemists, they create some magic thing, PCBs. It's like, oh, it's gonna make electricity work better. Well, it did until it polluted all the water all over the earth.
Yep.
So it's like so it made one good thing, allowed you to make all these electronic products, be able to cool them down, make it work good. But then it's like it's this never-ending cancer-causing thing because the people don't think their decision out. This is the problem with a lot of Western thinking: is you come up with the quick hit, you don't consider the true cost. Like, did you really price that in the price of your product? No, you didn't. Most of the things we do in the West is like we create these products and we don't consider the cascading effect of what these things do.
Well, the reason we don't consider is because we don't care. And
Yeah.
again, I'm a child of the West. I'm not exempting myself. This is our society. Our society is success equals stuff and status. And this is basically the whole premise for my book. Our society revolves around the values, the core values of stuff and status. So people are looking to acquire as much stuff and acquire as much status as possible. And that's how they define success. They can't envision it any other way because it's so ingrained in Western culture that that's what success is. But there are so many different ways to flourish as a human being other than just stuff and status.
Yeah,
and
materialism.
materialism
It's
and,
like
you know,
blowing everything out.
yeah.
Because it get to the point where like technology was kind of carbon neutral for a certain point of time. But now there's a problem. All this tech is super carbon like negative. Like it actually going to cause more global warming. It's going to cause more like environmental destruction, like use of water destruction, air destruct, compute. So this tech, which normally tech would say, oh, it's always going to solve the problem. Now you actually create a problem. So if you only with a blinder on, tell me, oh, I want to only see the good thing. The good thing with AI, can do all this chat stuff. The bad thing, it pollutes the water. The bad thing, it knocks your energy bill up. The bad thing, if we can, it takes your water, right? So what does it do? It takes the guy truck driver's job.
Yeah.
So then 10 years, there's no more Teamsters. And maybe they can do something else, but maybe they weren't trained to do anything else. When they went to school, they really weren't trained to do anything else. So what are they going to do?
I always found that argument unconvincing and actually kind of condescending, the whole idea of, oh yeah, well, that person's job is going to become obsolete, but we can train them to do something else. What are you talking about?
What's the Teamster going to do? I mean,
we're talking about a human being here.
They did the truck for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. They're going to go and start doing code.
Wait, you're going to teach a 60-year-old Teamster? Okay, come over here. We're going to teach you Python now.
Yeah, I don't think where are they going to go? Like they're going to go pack boxes in the Amazon? Oh, no, the robot's going to do that.
Exactly.
So it's like, where are they going? And then this idea of universal income comes from these same tech bros. Well, you know, you guys never showed me. It's like, you could have done universal income when you made me sign up for your Google. And you use my information, you track me everywhere. For 30 years, we've been on the net. Have any of these companies using our personal information ever paid us? So this idea that suddenly they're going to pay us doesn't seem credible, because they could pay us right now for the use of our personal information and they don't. So I just don't, I think that falls flat to me. They tell you things, but you have to be informed. Like, show me what you've done. And you haven't shown me that you would ever do that. So I don't believe it.
What did Maya Angelou say? When someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them.
Yeah, you should see it. It's like, that's a pipe dream. Like, where's that happening? I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think people need to understand their voice. And I think part of the system that we're in is everybody tries to fit into the cube. and a lot of people who are creative, we're kind of outside the box. And then people say they want out of the box thinking, and then they put you at 9 to 5 in the box.
In a cube, literally in a box. In a cube.
Yeah, so it's like, right? It's telling you want the out of the box thinking, but you want me to be in the cube 9 to 5. Like the 9 to 5 doesn't give me out of the box thinking.
And it never will.
So like, how do ordinary people get independent of the structure because they're like, oh, I got to pay my mortgage. I got to be in a box.
Yeah, I did
You know,
that. I, I wish I knew the answer to that question.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the hard thing.
I mean, people, people can make individual choices about their life, but I admit that I would, I was born into a relative privilege. I was born into relative privilege, so I was, I have opportunities to make choices about my life that a lot of people don't necessarily were never or do not have the capacity to make. Some people are barely surviving,
Yeah,
barely making it.
they got to do their day to day.
They got to do what they got to do. What they got to do. They got to pay their rent. They got to put food on the table. They got to take care of their families. They got to do it. And so, yeah, I mean, I've had the opportunity to like make some decisions about my career to afford myself a little bit more margin, a little bit more time with my family, and like downsize a little bit. And that's great. And I'm glad. And I hope that as many people can do that as possible, because it's given me a lot of peace and a lot of space in my life. But, like you say,
Some
a
people
lot of
are in the
people
grind every day. I mean, say they got 3 jobs, 4
and
jobs.
what are they going to do?
Yeah,
What are
they
they
don't
going to do?
have. Yeah, you want people that like, oh, think outside the box. Well, like it's hard to think outside the box when I got to pay $3,000 rent
100%.
and I don't have any retirement money. I'm doing 4 jobs.
It
You
was,
know, you don't have good health care. So it's like, okay, you're telling people, oh, you should be saving most of your money. You should be like, don't splurge. How are you gonna like tell somebody that don't splurge because you gotta save for retirement when they barely make enough to make to pay the rent?
I won't get into the specifics, but I have some in my book. I have some data about like how the cost of things like housing have risen in proportion to wage growth,
Yeah,
whatever wage growth we've had.
no,
And
no.
it's and the idea, I saw someone on one of the socials at one point. I've quit all the socials now at this point. I'm off of them, but I saw someone on socials at one point talking about how, we should all be living in walkable cities. We should all be living in walkable cities. Yeah, I think it's great to live in a walkable city. I'm doing all right too. I'm doing pretty well. I can't afford to live in a walkable city around me. You know what the rents are in walkable cities in
No,
the
that's what I'm saying.
part of
It's
the
such a
country
nice
I'm living
pipe
in?
dream. I mean, I
Yeah.
lived in Tokyo for a while, and that was a walkable city, but I was making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So,
So,
yeah, I got
yeah.
now I live in the suburbs, and I gotta have a car. But
I-
because it's like 'cause that's the way America's built. Like
That's
it's
the way America's built.
unless you're in Boston or New York or you're in Tokyo or you're in London, like you're in places where it's walkable, but you gotta have the walkable money.
Well, we even here in New Jersey, I live kind of like 25, 30 miles west of New York City, right? We have some beautiful walkable cities right here in New Jersey. I can't afford to live in them.
Yeah, I mean, the walkable is like it's nice if you could have that house or that brownstone where you
Yeah.
can go walking around down to the bagel shop, and you can go get a coffee, and you go to the theater, go walk here, walk to the park. That's not. I mean, I was in Tokyo. I was able to walk all over the place. I mean, it's totally walkable. It's kind of designed for walking.
Well, when was that too?
2004 to 2006, I was in downtown Tokyo. I was doing a work for a financial client. My whole family was living in a really nice like condo in the middle of like Moto Azubo near Roppongi near Shibuya. It's like in that area, but it's like it was just fantastic. I mean, living there, but that's like I was living on the company dime because I mean they gave me I was there doing technical work.
So that sounds awesome.
It was
You
awesome.
admit you were fortunate to be doing it on the company dime, and that was 20 years ago. And it wasn't in the US. So when we talk about the US in 2026, for people, making like medium incomes, they can't afford to live in walkable cities.
No,
Sorry.
I mean it's not even it's
Yeah.
nice. It's a nice idea. I mean,
It's a great idea.
Well, there was a time. I know we're getting there to end, but there was a time where people wanted to have cable cars, and if you go back and look at the history of a lot of old northeastern cities, like Springfield, Mass, had cable cars. So you actually could get around, but they kind of took them out for the car.
Yep.
So a decision was made for us to go with interstates and cars rather than having really good public transportation.
Yep.
And if we had the train systems, then we would have been in a different situation. It would be a lot more affordable. But they decided to do, for Detroit, and I understand why they did it. But
Of course. Yeah, these situations are complex and
yeah, I mean, we have our own
I get it.
situations where we live, but now we're like, maybe we need to rethink that. Well, that's that's the whole thing where people have to have their get out of the side of the box when you start being creative and you're thinking like jazz fusion and you're saying like I'm an individual, but when I combine with my other bandmates, we become something else.
Well, that's the thing, and
So
that's what
that's what the
democracy
society
needs.
was.
Democracy needs jazz musicians, people that listen, people that are empathetic, people that are responsive, people that are willing to put in the 10,000 hours without getting an immediate return, people that are appreciate beauty, people that appreciate being connected to something bigger than themselves, people that appreciate being connected to something that lasts across generations and time and space. That's what we need. If we want this democracy to work out and be sustainable over the long term, that's what we need.
Yeah, we need people to be willing to actually say, I don't know where this is going, but it feels like it's going to go somewhere really great.
Yeah.
And just because you're scared doesn't mean that you shouldn't be involved. Right. This is where it's like, to go out there and get involved in democracy. Not everybody's going to agree with you. And agreement isn't part of the whole social contract.
Nope.
Isn't about that you should agree with what the boss tells you to agree to.
That's part of the contract.
That's not the contract.
Never was part of it. Agreement. You are not entitled to agreement. You're entitled to a vote. You're entitled to a voice. You are not entitled to anybody's agreement. And one last thing I'll say, that you may disagree with somebody and you may be right, quote unquote, right. But in a democracy, their perspective is co-equal with yours, whether you like it or not.
I want people to know we got your QR code. It's been up the whole time. But if people go up there, they can check it out. We're going to put it up here too. And it's jelefante.com, jelefante.com. But you can actually just take your QR code and get it, and you go right there. So if you go there, that's how you can get to the book and get to everything about you.
Yeah, you'll see information there about the book. You'll see a little bit about my music career, but if you want to go see that, you can go to joelefantemusic.com. I've been very blessed to have a wonderful music career as well. And I appreciate you having me on today. And I've had a blast talking to you.
Well, it's really fun. I love to talk to musicians and creative people. That's always my jam. I hope you have a great rest of your day and nighttime, because I always forget where I am. But thank you.
You too.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You got it.